All right. I want to test this mic here. It looks like the microphone is working great. So I wanted to, first of all, make sure we don't have any microphone issues because it seems like every single time, for some odd reason, every time I get to recording a Bible study or something, and then I get really down into the study and start tearing apart the scriptures and everything, somehow we get to the end and I forgot to press record or I forgot to check the mic. And so we're not going to go through any of the above today. So, those of you that are joining me this beautiful Sunday morning, I want to thank you for joining me. And I also want to thank you all for your support because a lot of times people think if you don't, comment, you're not supporting. No, you're supporting every time you share one of our videos. You can comment if you just hit like or any type of engagement. We appreciate it and we are thankful for it. So obviously, don't forget to visit our website if you have not yet done so, www.fcnwatchdogmedia.org. And then our website, our email address for anyone, if you would like to reach out to us for support, it's support@fcnwatchdogmedia.org. And I am Minister Marquise L. Kimble. And what I'm doing today is I'm going to go ahead and go over with you guys what was filed in federal court as we are currently awaiting Judge Helmick's decision on whether he's going to approve or deny our request to amend the federal complaint. So what am I talking about? What we're asking the court to do is to allow us a leave legally. That's what it is called in federal court, where you have to actually ask for permission if there is later evidence found that needs to be added and you need to change the complaint. The court doesn't just let you change the complaint however many times you want, whenever you want. You don't just have that right. However, whenever there's relevant information to a complaint, and the dynamics of the complaint changes, there may be a point where you need to ask the court for permission to amend the complaint, and that is what we did. Because at the end of the day, State Farm is not getting away with what they did. Every single, like I said from day one, any person or entity that played any part in the destruction of our business and what we went through, they're going to be held accountable. We're going to bring them to the federal stage. I don't care how many times they try to wiggle out of this. I don't care what they try to come up with. I have nothing to hide. They've already put me through the ringer for over 210 baseless, unlawful days. When they could not come up with any reason to deny my claim, they offered me a $15,000 settlement. I said, kick rocks. You can kick rocks. There's no way in God's green earth I'm accepting that. Then they came up with, oh, you had something to do with the destruction of your business. Well, how could that even be possible? That would mean that I somehow would have been in collusion with the SWANTON Police Department, who decided and elected to respond to our business not almost an hour after being notified. But the kicker is they were within walking distance from our business. So the alarms went off at 6:32 a.m. Somehow they go to the wrong address. The wrong address is located 0.2 miles from our business, but somehow they don't show up until an hour later. And instead of State Farm investigating that scam, they turned the finger on me 6 days after the break-in of our store. And we're not going to stop until every single entity is held accountable for this garbage. This is a scam, and we've allowed it to go on too long. And now the judge allowed us to reopen the complaint, and now we're asking him to allow us to amend the complaint so we can bring State Farm back to the party SHINAVER law firm back to the party, attorney Zach DeSilva's back to the party, and attorney Joseph SHINAVER Jr. back to the party. Why? Because there's ongoing problems that carried on into this year involving all of these different entities, and we're going to hold them accountable. And if we have to go through the federal court to get the relief we need, then that's what's going to have to happen. And if we don't get our answer there, there's a thing called appeals. So at the end of the day, Swanton, this can be as long of a fight that you want this to be. And just make sure you, like I've said before, make sure you are telling your taxpayers that they're paying the bill, Mr. TOEPPE. Make sure they understand that they're footing the bill for your scam. You're trying to cover up the scam, and you're paying for it, not out of your own personal pocket, but out of the taxpayers' pockets. That's what makes you a clown, guy. You're defending a scam, and it's black and white what your officers did to me, and we're not going to give up without a fight. It's just not going to happen, guy. We're going to be at this thing every single day, every single hour. We're going to keep sharing it across our platforms. I don't give a damn, guy. You're not going to get away with the fact that you are the leader of that complete area, and for some reason you did nothing about what went down with our business. And I'm supposed to believe that your police station just somehow caught on fire and everything was destroyed 18 days after we got this case reopened? I mean, that right there should be an investigation. And don't think for 1 second that Fcn Watchdog Media is not going to contact the Ohio Department of Insurance to make sure they're aware of this suspicious scam, because I can't say I have facts, but it's my own personal opinion, which I'm entitled to, that this is a grade A scam. Because how does a brick building that's been up for multiple years just somehow burn down to the ground? Oh, let it burn all the way to the ground, huh? I'm supposed to believe that scam? No. I believe that that was a way to get rid of records of how you mistreat African Americans. Because as we were digging, we found evidence of the long-standing mistreatment of African Americans by the Swanton Police Department, disregarded and ignored by the current sitting scamified mayor that's doing nothing about his officers and the mistreatment of African Americans. This is all documented. So, Mr. Mayor, you can't run from this. You're trying to sweep it under the rug. You've got attorneys making those sly comments and telling people what type of an attorney goes to the court and says, what does the plaintiff want us to do? Give him his DNA back? What the hell do you mean? So if I stole your DNA and told you, what do you want me to do? Give it back? How would you feel? So it's okay. You're entitled to violate my rights and say it on federal docket papers that you did it and you don't give a damn about it. But I'm not entitled to retaliate by taking your ass through court because of what you're doing. No, that's not the way this goes. I take you to court because you're going to be held accountable. I don't give a damn how many years it takes. That's the bottom line. So, Swanton, again, I hope you are prepared to be in this for the long haul, because it looks like your scamified mayor wants to do this for the long haul. So it doesn't matter to me. It's going to be you guys footing the bill. So let's get into what was filed in response to the scam of what they filed. So what I'm covering with you guys is specifically what was filed in the court. So we're going to go over that right now. This is my response. The Honorable Judge Jeffrey Helmick allowed me to have the final say on the docket. So we're going to go through this. It's 21 pages, but part of it is attachments that we don't need to cover. We're just going to cover the actual motion itself, or the actual response itself, and then the attachments. I'll kind of give you a summary of what they are. But then this is just for you guys to understand what this is, so you understand, if you're in this position, how you need to formulate your documents, how things need to look for the courts, because at the end of the day, this is important. If it's not formulated this type of way when you're going before a court, you're going to get rejected. So this is a educational moment. I am not an attorney. I cannot give you any legal advice. So please don't email me. You guys are emailing me, asking me legal questions, and I'm going to respond the same exact way that I am to everybody else. No matter what you see me do in court, I got the balls on the spine to do it. So don't think that you're going to call me and ask me for some advice, and then I somehow get wrapped in your trap of practicing law unlawfully. I am not an attorney, and I cannot give you any type of legal advice. This is strictly educational, and you can do whatever you want to do with that. But I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you to contact an attorney. Now, if you want to become pro se and learn, well, then that takes you sitting down and learning the law like I did. I sat down, and I still, every day, I spend hours and hours. If you're not willing to dedicate that into it, then don't come talking to me about pro se, because pro se means that the court's going to hold you accountable to the same count that they hold an attorney. So if you go in there not knowing what you're talking about or quoting the wrong stuff, you're going to look like an idiot and face getting a slap on the wrist by the judge. So if you're saying to me you want to be pro se, well, it takes sacrifice and dedication. That means turn the damn TV off, turn off your scam, sit down and pick up the Constitution and learn it. If you're not willing to do that, then you need to contact an attorney. I'm not going to be your attorney because I'm not an attorney. So don't email me asking me a legal question pertaining to your specific situation, because I'm not going to answer it for you. I'm going to tell you to research it. Just like I did. It took years of research for me to understand exactly what these guys did. And this is why I'm holding them accountable. And I don't need an attorney to stand there and hold these people accountable. And I'm not afraid of none of these bastards. So at the end of the day, no, you did things wrong, and you can't rewrite history. And it's time for you to be held accountable for these things. So once again, this is the response that we're waiting for the judge to approve us to amend the complaint. They already gave their little stupid response trying to label me as vexatious. We went over that in the last video. So they're basically asking the court to bar me from being able to file lawsuits, and everything I'm filing is frivolous and this and that and the other. They did not once address any of the allegations, any of the violations, nothing in the complaint. They just spent their entire time trying to label me as a vexatious litigant, and I'm harassing them. No, I'm not harassing. How about you're harassing me because you still have my damn DNA, you stupid bastard? How about that? You're the one that's doing the harassing, not me. When you tell me to my face on legal documents that you have my DNA to this day, and you're just going to laugh it off like it's not important, well, then I want to come by your house and snatch up your DNA and your kids' DNA. Hell, let me have your husband's too. And I want it, and I want to hold on to it, Miss Molly Davis, until I damn feel like giving it back. How about that? If I can't do that to you, then you don't get the right to sit there and laugh it off like it's not important. It's important because these bastards can still at any given time put my DNA, my personal DNA on a crime if they wanted to. Why? Because I'm in their system unlawfully. They weren't supposed to do that to me and my sister. I was trying to be, cordial and I've never been in trouble, so I'm trying to follow the rules. And then it had to take my family and my friends to tell me, no, they literally violated your rights on camera, and you did not, and you allowed it to happen. It took me learning what they did to me for me to be able to hold them accountable in federal court. If I don't give a damn if you're mad because I'm doing it, if you don't have the balls to do it when somebody does it to you, well, then go through life spending your money on attorneys and hoping for the best. I'm not going to do that. If you violate my rights, you mess with me and mine means me or my family members. You do something to one of us, guess what? I'm going to hold your ass accountable. I don't care if you're a pastor. I don't care if you're a business owner. I don't give a damn who you are. If you think you're going to get away with violating my rights and you're not going to be held accountable, then you are sadly mistaken. That's the bottom line. So here we go. In the United States District Court for the Northern District of Ohio, Western Division, Marquise L. Kimble plaintiff versus Swanton Police Department, Neil TOEPPE and John Jane Doe's 1 through 10. Because I don't know the scamified officer if he's still there or whatever. I think we can get his information because it's on the police report. But yeah, I don't know. So when you're forming a lawsuit and you're in the beginning stages and it's multiple people that violated your rights and you don't know their names, the court's perfectly fine with you addressing them as John and Jane. Now, later down the line, you may have to get their specific names and correct it, but the court's okay in the beginning if you just don't have the full names of who did what, and you use that. So obviously, this is John and Jane Doe's 1 through 10 defendants. Case number 325 CV 01810. Judge Jeffrey J. Helmick. Plaintiff's reply in support of motion for leave to file first amended complaint. So guys, once again, the judge set briefing schedules. He basically reopened the case and gave them till the 24th of April, I believe it was, to provide a response. And so all they did was oppose my request to amend the complaint. They didn't address any of the allegations, any of the violations. They spent all their time talking about labeling me harassment and whatever. It's just a complete scam is what it looked like. A 2-year-old did it, but that's what they responded to. And then I was then put under a time schedule with the judge. He gave me to the 15th to turn my reply in. Well, I gave my reply. I filed it on the 28th, 2 days after they filed theirs. Because at the end of the day, or 4 days after they filed theirs, because at the end of the day, I'm done playing games with you guys. I don't need 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks to prepare. You're trying to run down the clock with me and hope that I'm going to just get tired and give up. No, it's not going to happen. So even it doesn't matter if you file something today, be prepared that within 24 hours, I may have filed my reply. Now you must be prepared to go over that with your staff and everything else, because I'm not here waiting for you. Understand that I've studied this out and I am a fully prepared plaintiff. I'm not some new kid on the block, and I understand every single word that I'm reading to you guys. And I understand every single part of this complaint that I'm bringing before the jury. And you can do whatever you want to try to get out of it going to a jury. I'm going to do everything I can so it gets to a jury. As soon as the judge either approves or denies this motion, I then am prepared to question Mr. Mayor. This is all part of the legal process, guy. You're going to answer some questions, buddy, because you lied to me. You told me direct conversations that you were so sorry for what happened to me and you were going to get another agency involved because of what your officers, how they treated me and my sister. I was very clear with you what they did to me, and you promised this, you scam. And then 6 days later, when I hired an attorney, you drop the case with no suspects found. Then I got to hear through the grapevine that you're having conversations with our building lien holder. I promise you, I have evidence, sir, that you were having unethical conversations with the same lady that we got our building from. Now, how does that work, Mr. Mayor? You want to explain to me how that works? You want this to go to discovery, buddy. We're going to dig through and we're going to find out who said what and who did what to who. But I promise you, sir, I have evidence that you were having conversations with McSorley. So what in the hell? You explain that to me. You don't get to have conversations with her about a property that I purchased from her, and you're the mayor of the city. What kind of a scam is this? What type of a world is this, guy? You're going to answer some questions, buddy. You want this dance, so we're going to the damn dance, guy. And I promise you, I'm prepared for whatever attorney you want to put in front of me. I'm not afraid of any of them. Get whatever law team you want. It doesn't matter to me, because like Judge Judy said, if you always tell the truth, you don't have to remember. And throughout this whole situation, my story has never changed. So once again, this is a reply in support of the motion for leave to file the first amended complaint. Under Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 15A2, leave should be freely given when justice so requires. Pay attention, guys. This is the law. So when justice so requires, and futility is a narrow exception applied only where the proposed pleading could not withstand Rule 12 scrutiny. Defendant's opposition does not make that showing. It instead offers a rhetorical, vexatious narrative, an undeveloped preclusion theme, and a conclusionary assertion that private actors can never be added here, while leaving the amendment's actual factual allegations largely unanswered. Like I just explained to you guys, they spent most of their time in their motion or their opposition opposing this request. They spent throwing negative shots at me. That's where at federal court, you scam. Is that the best you got? We come in before a federal judge and you spend the first half paragraph of your motion talking about what you feel about me. You don't get to call me vexatious. That is something that has to be proven by a court. A court is the only person that can label you as such. So you're begging the court to label me as vexatious so I am barred from the courtroom because I'm holding you accountable? Are you kidding me? You can't stop it. So you spent more time telling the court how you feel about me. Well, I'm sorry, Miss Molly Davis, scamified scam. The courts don't give a damn about feelings. It's what's called law in court. I thought you would know that as an attorney. Did you go to some clown school to get your degree? Defendants do not show futility under Rule 15. So you can't just call out names and say whatever you want without the law says you can't use that unless it's under Rule 15. Defendants cite Rule 15, but they do not seriously apply it. Let me break it down for you guys. They do not show undue prejudice. So that's the first requirement there. You have to show that there's undue prejudice by allowing this complaint to go forward. They didn't show it. They didn't spend any time talking about that because they spent more time talking about what they feel about me personally. Are you kidding me? So that's the first check mark. Do not identify case management disruption. That's the next requirement, buddy. You don't just get to say futility and you haven't done these things. This is what the law says. It's law 101, you scam. And do not explain why amendment at this stage would unfairly burden the defense in a way that Rule 15 recognizes, guys. So once again, it comes down to the law, not feelings. So you can throw your vexatious comments out there all you want. Unless a judge put that label on me, you're going to look like an idiot. You're looking like we're in first grade and you're just going to call me names. We're in a federal dance here, lady. It's time for you to dance. Where's your argument at? Because I'm sure in the hell ready for you, or whoever else you guys hire. Just make sure you tell the taxpayers that they're paying for it. Be honest, Mayor. Go tell SWANTON how much they're paying to defend a scam, instead of you being a man and telling them what happened and telling them how your officers neglected my business, telling them how your officers took my DNA and won't give it back to this day, and my sisters. How about that? Tell the truth to the damn public instead of hiding behind your office, sir. Instead, they asked the court to deny leave because plaintiff has pursued related matters elsewhere, and because they view the proposed claims as undesirable. Because, once again, it's not about what you view them as. It's what's legally lawful in court. If you can't show law in court, you're wasting the court's time. I'm not in federal court without a legal argument. I've done my homework. Once again, I studied it out. I don't need somebody to explain this to me. That is not the Rule 15 standard. The proper question is not whether defendants believe plaintiff will ultimately lose. It is whether the proposed amendment is factually futile now. The attached materials show it is not. They identify concrete factual allegations tied to coordinated conduct, retaliatory motive, misuse of process, stigmatizing litigation positions, and circulation of non-public insurance information, all arising from the same broader sequence of events surrounding the 22 crime loss and its aftermath. Let's stop right there. The courts don't like you. You can't prove why you need an amended complaint if you got 17 different issues spread out all over the place. The court's going to say, get out of here. You can't have an amended complaint. Get out of here. Go. No, it doesn't make any sense. When you are in position and you're asking the court for an amended complaint based on what we just read, I'm saying to the court, listen, this all was from one event. So it doesn't matter if the Swanton Police Department wants to say it wasn't me, if the State Farm agent Jeff Lambert wants to say it wasn't me, if the former McNeil's executive that called me impersonating the Swanton Police Department and nothing was done about it wants to say it wasn't me. It doesn't matter who. All of this stuff has related to one incident. The break-in and vandalization of my business. And it started with the Swanton Police Department. Because had they been on time, none of this would be an issue today. But see, the problem is somebody has to explain to me how they went to the wrong address right across the railroad tracks and the alarms are going off, but somehow they don't show up until over almost an hour after being notified. Somebody's got to explain that to me. I worked as the finance manager at McNeil Chevrolet for 7 years. And there are plenty of mornings that I showed up at that dealership early in the morning. And guess what the Swanton Police Department was doing? Sitting there in the parking lot, drinking their coffee and eating their damn donuts. So don't tell me at 6 o'clock in the morning, you were somewhere handling an emergency where you could not come right down the same street and address an alarm situation. No, you don't show up until over an hour later. Then I show up and probably 30 minutes after that, after you guys have already walked through and did whatever you want to my building. and then I get fingerprinted on the spot as the suspect and I own the business? Somebody please explain that to me. I'm so angry to this day that I was so innocent with this and was doing what I thought I should be doing. And the whole time that son of a bitch was doing illegal stuff to me because he wanted to cover up the fact that they were late. He didn't want to look like to the public we were late. So let's find a way to put it on him. And then they couldn't find my prints on any of the stuff in the store. But did they say, oh, sorry, we took your DNA. Here's it back. No, he didn't do any of that. You don't get to do that to people, and you're not going to get away with it. Part 2, the vexatious accusation is unsupported and does not substitute for legal analysis. So let's talk about that. I just told you that because you think I'm vexatious, because you feel like I'm vexatious, because you just feel like today I want to call Mr. Kimble vexatious, does not make it legally okay or legally, it's not a legal standard. It's not even sound because guess what? The court has to find you vexatious. You don't get to make accusations and you're the defense. So you're going to, instead of answering the damn complaint and the allegations in front of you with the evidence to support it, you're just going to go right past all of that and then just start attacking my character. It's an accusation. That's what this is. The vexatious accusation is unsupported and does not substitute for legal analysis. You can't just say I'm vexatious, Miss Molly Davis, because you feel like you're mad you have to fight with me in court. Defendants repeatedly label plaintiff vexatious and ask this court to consider restricting further filings. This is what SWANTON Police Department is doing right now. They're trying to, instead of standing up and facing the music, they're going to keep doing things to cost you guys the money, SWANTON. That's what they're doing. They're just going to, so every time a motion or anything is drawn up, you're paying for it. Do you think the mayor's stroking the check? So he doesn't give a damn. He doesn't care what happens. But I'm telling you guys right now, that's their argument right now that you're paying thousands of dollars for. How much do you think that they have already spent litigating this? It's been over a year. We're talking north of $100,000 that the community's paying for already. So it doesn't matter what they say. We're going to the dance. And like I said, I'm not the one that's trying to change the story here. The story has remained the same because it's been the same story since day one. And you guys think you're going to rewrite history. You can't, because I have all the cards. I have all the history. So, the brief cites no controlling standard for such extraordinary relief. So you can't just say it and you don't have any legal argument to back up your scam. So you want to say, label him as vexatious, judge, please, right now. Well, where's your legal standard attached to that of why I should be labeled as such? You should know these things, Miss Attorney. You're a dumbass. Let's just be honest. And does not perform the analysis required to justify it. So again, you can't just say it and it hasn't been determined by a court and you did not apply what's your legal law basis of why you're saying it, and you didn't perform the analysis. That should have been in the same motion, dumbass. Aren't you an attorney once again? That should have been in your brief. If you're going to use the word vexatious, I pray that the judge slaps you on the wrist because you should know better. I don't even have a law degree. I I know you can't just throw words around because courts don't give a damn about your feelings. You're calling me vexatious because you're tired of having to come back to court to litigate something that you're trying to bury. You don't want the public to know what happened. No, we're going to talk. We're going to the dance. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that this goes to trial. You guys don't want to settle it. So you obviously want the dance. You want the public exposure. You want them to be looking at you like, what are you doing? Why are you paying for a defense that's your best argument? He's vexatious. Oh, he's harassing. That's your best argument? Where's the law behind it? More importantly, the brief repeatedly treats prior filings as though they were equivalent to final merits adjudication. So let me explain that to you guys. If I had went to court with each of these specific people that I'm adding or asking the judge to add as co-defendants, and it had already been determined a decision on those defendants, then I would not be able to come and say amend the complaint because I didn't like the judgment. This is what SHINAVER's trying to do with the protection order. He doesn't like the fact that his dumbass lost, and he lost 3 times, and instead of taking it like a man and accepting it, he wants to keep up the fight so he can keep my case against him in Lucas County frozen. So he's telling the judge that, hey, I'm appealing this case, but not telling the judge that there's only an oral argument left because I am asking the appellate court to hear my oral argument because 3 times I lost my argument, and now I don't like that. Tell Judge Navarre the truth, guy. That's what I'm saying. You guys like to manipulate and scamify everything you can. Tell the damn truth. I'm telling the truth. Why can't you guys? Oh, that's too much for you guys to do. I forgot. You have no standards. Because if you did, then you would not be playing the game, SHINAVER, and this dumbass attorney, Molly Davis, who looks like worked McDonald's reject. That's what she looks like. Because if you looked at the law like we just talked about, there are things that you cannot do. And so the way their motion was written, they tried to make it seem like I have already litigated all of these matters and they've already been determined by a court. Now, if that was true, then the court would be able to say, oh, this is frivolous. Guy, you can't just relitigate something because you don't like the decision. But she left out a whole lot of factors here. I never got to see a jury. I never got a day in court with State Farm. That's the whole reason, because the scam happened between my former attorney that worked at SHINAVER Law Firm, the attorney at State Farm, the judge that made the decision. They all went into the courtroom, and I'm the plaintiff and never got to see a judge. Never got to see anything. 2 weeks before the trial, I'm told to drop it and refile it or accept a lowball offer or face criminal charges. You want to sit here and tell me this wasn't all connected, you scams? No, we're going to federal court because a jury has to see what I see. I didn't just wake up yesterday. I'm not stupid. All of this stuff is connected. Anybody with half of a brain can see it. So, once again, as though they were equivalent to a final merits adjudications of the federal amendment theories now before this court. They are not. Defendants themselves admit that at least one SHINAVER-related case is still pending. It is, because it's currently frozen in Lucas County because this scam told the judge that I'm appealing the decision. Well, by law, so she does not overcross decisions by judges, she has to give him time to appeal. So he's basically maneuvering the system so he can get out of having to deal with this civil rights complaint right now. So he's using that as an argument. But the truth of the matter is there's no appeal. You don't lose 3 times and think that the appeals court's going to reverse it. It don't happen. Unless you're going to go in there and be able to prove without a shadow of a doubt that the trial court made a mistake. But I'm telling you right now, it's hard to prove that when you got 2 different judges. The magistrate said no to your protection order. You went back to Judge Bruce Winters. He objected to everything you tried to bring up. And then you got a Civil Rule B argument you tried to bring back, open the case to retry it again. And Judge Bates, a visiting judge, denied your request. And said in his order, any evidence you have is relevant in Lucas County. So why are you running, guy? Why are you running? Be a man. So once again, Molly Davis, Swan PD, Mayor TOEPPE, you guys are scams because you're just trying to come up with every reason to not accept and deal with what was done to me. See, it doesn't matter about if they were all what was litigated and what wasn't litigated. What did you do wrong? Let's go back to what you did wrong. Forget who litigated what. You told me last year, dumbass. What does the plaintiff want us to do? Give him his DNA back? You said that last year or in 2024. So 2025, you said that. So you admitted that these bastards still even have possession of my DNA. Well, now you can't say that because, the place caught on fire. Once again, we're going to have to take a look at that fire situation. Because if I can be investigated with not a drop of any type of evidence that I did anything, then you better believe somebody that has a business and they're facing a federal lawsuit, 18 days later, the business goes up in flames and needs to be investigated. Don't tell me for 1 second I wouldn't be if the tables were turned. If me and my business partner wanted to open up a business and we were facing federal scrutiny and a federal lawsuit, and then somehow in 18 days our business went up in flames, we would be investigated. Don't tell me, because I promise you we will be. But what, they get to wiggle out of this and destroy records in between? Get out of here. But guess what? We got evidence on how you treat black people out there, so you can't run from it. So, they admit that at least one SHINAVER-related case is still pending. A pending state case is not a final judgment. You should know this, attorney, dumbass 101. You should know this. So why are you going in my backyard and looking at what I got going on in other courts, trying to use it in your argument, costing the taxpayers that much more money? Why are you doing that? You're an idiot. Because at the end of the day, you should know better. You should have seen that this case is all tied up because of SHINAVER. That's the only reason that this case has not went forward in Lucas County. Go talk to him why he's playing these games, because he doesn't want to look like an idiot. Nor do a summary judgment ruling on one bad faith theory, not even with State Farm, a limitations dismissal on a defamation theory, and dismissal of an Ohio Supreme Court mandamus action automatically foreclose later federal civil rights amendment theories involving additional actors, additional facts, and different legal elements. That shuts you down, SWANTON. Plaintiff's core point is straightforward. He has not had the federal civil rights injuries and discriminatory practices alleged here resolved by a jury in this court. Repeatedly attempting to obtain a full merits hearing on those claims is not by itself vexatious conduct. So you can't just say I'm frivolous because you feel like it. I'm attempting to get justice that's still been denied from me all these years later. And because I'm standing up to get justice and I'm doing it by myself without the help of an attorney, you guys just want to keep one-on-one attacking me and trying to attack my character at the same time. And you guys are supposed to be the professionals. SHINAVER should be disbarred for what he's done. Defendants never perform a true preclusion analysis. The opposition says plaintiff is attempting to sue the same parties. What do you mean? I never got to sue any one of them. Let's talk about that, you scam. For the same conduct. No, it's not the same conduct. State Farm didn't have anything to do with you bastards taking my DNA. Stop it. It's not the same conduct. In different Ohio and federal courts. But the brief never walks through the required elements of claim or issue preclusion. It does not analyze identity of claims, identity of parties, actual final merits of judgments as to each proposed defendant, or which issues were necessarily decided in prior proceedings. That has to go on before you try to use the preclusion analysis argument, you scam. Once again, dumbass attorney, you should know this. You think the federal judge is going to just go through this and not apply the law? That omission matters because the proceedings defendants cite are plainly distinct in theory and posture. A Fulton County bad faith insurance action, a Lucas County defamation case, and an Ohio Supreme Court mandamus action, and a state Lucas County case involving protection order related conduct, and this federal civil rights case. Those proceedings may overlap factually, but defendants have not shown they are legally identical for preclusion purposes. That's what you have to be able to do. I'm going to lose it here. You did not show that. So if you didn't show that, then you cannot make this argument. Attorney, you should know this. Without that showing, preclusion is not a basis to deny amendment at the threshold. Stop it, lady. Defendants miscategorize the amendment as only loosely related to the original incident. What do you mean loosely related? All of these bastards are connected. You want me to run you through it? I just told you how they're connected. Every one of there's no loosely related here. Every one of these bastards were connected, including the original judge in Fulton County that had to recuse himself from the case twice. Let's talk about that. Had to sign off the case twice. You know why? Because the insurance agent so happened to be his insurance agent too. Conflict of interest. This is a whole backyard scam going on out there in Swanton, and the federal court needs to tear it apart. Defendants contend the proposed new defendants are tied to conduct only loosely related to the 22 vandalism incident. Plaintiff supporting materials show the opposite. Those materials place the alleged unlawful DNA fingerprint collection, the Swanton response, municipal involvement, State Farm claim handling, alleged disclosure of non-public claim information, property-related pressure, and retaliatory legal process into a single broader sequence of events. The proposed amendment does not introduce random side disputes. That's another reason to get an amended complaint thrown out. You can't come and say, oh, this happened, and then 10 years later, this happened, and this. No. All this stuff happened together, related in the same time frame. It adds actors. They're just mad because I'm coming after the people I should have came after in the first place. All of them. It adds actors and conduct that plaintiff alleges are part of the same overall pattern of discriminatory treatment, retaliation, and deprivation arising from the underlying hate crime loss and its aftermath. Defendants do not answer the most significant facts supporting the amendment. The opposition is striking for what it does not confront. Let's talk about this, guys. It does not meaningfully address the Ottawa County denial of the stalking-related protection order and the later attempt to reframe that defeat as fraud on the court. The repeated characterization of settlement communications and intended public reporting as extortion. The apparent use of public or previously available materials as purported newly discovered evidence in post-judgment filings. This is all SHINAVER's dumbass. testimony and admissions suggesting that non-public State Farm claim information was known by a non-insured third party. She said it under oath. She said under oath that she talked to State Farm's corporate office and they told her our claim was denied. That's illegal. That's a violation of the law. She's not listed on our policy. And they gave her what she needed to do to lock us out of our building for over a year. This is truly what happened. We've got the dates. We've got the evidence. And then Jeff Lambert, the agent, admitted under oath that he was talking to multiple members of her family members. Multiple family members related to the same lady who also was having conversations with the mayor. You see how all of these people were connected? And you don't think I'm going to bring this in front of the federal judge, you scams? Stop it. I'm not an idiot here. And I've done my homework. It took me a good 2 years to study this out. You know why? Because your civil rights attorneys are scams. You can't find them unless there's a casket involved. That's why Reverend Al Scampton is a scam, because he never shows up when you're needed for real. It's always when somebody's passed away, unfortunately, or somebody has been hurt. Other than that, you can't get no help. So I had to do this myself. And guess what? They broke multiple laws, and they're going to be held accountable. The broader allegation that municipal actors, insurer-related actors, and private attorneys operate from the same narrative, while plaintiff was treated as the wrongdoer rather than the victim. These are specific allegations supported by record materials. Defendants do not rebut them with equal specificity. So wait a minute. If you're on the opposite team, why didn't you even address any of this? They instead dismissed the entire amendment effort as harassment. So not only did they try to label me as vexatious, they then come back and try to attempt to label me as harassing them by filing a complaint in federal court, guys. Understand what I just said to you. Swanton Police Department, Mayor Neil TOEPPE, the village of Swanton, Ohio, would rather label me as harassing them for filing a complaint for what they did than addressing the misconduct. That's what we need to understand here, guys. They would rather label me as harassing them because I'm asking the federal court to put their asses on the stand. So what type of America are we in if I can't hold you accountable in the court of law when you mistreat me? What am I supposed to do it the old-fashioned way? Let me be careful there, because the senator ran to the court and got a protection order because I told him if he came by my house, he'd end up stinking. So let me be careful there. But you're basically telling me that the courts don't matter. No, the courts do matter, and they're put in place for situations like this. The De Silva's argument improperly recharacterizes all claims as malpractice. Defendants reduced the De Silva's allegations to one November 22, 2023 email. The email where Zach De Silva's told us 14 or so days before trial that either I had to accept a lowball offer or I had to refile the complaint, or I was going to face criminal charges. He not only said it to me verbally, he said it to me with a witness that was present that heard him say it, and then he followed it up with an email. And that is part of the docket. She's trying to say that all of this is because of his one email. No, let's walk through this, shall we? And assert that whatever plaintiffs calls the claim, it is really legal malpractice and therefore time barred. So she's trying to say because because of what he did back then, it's time barred. It's past the statute. You can't argue that because it's legal malpractice. No, it's legal malpractice, but there's way more that happened here than just this one incident with Zach. Zach spent the whole time as my legal attorney telling me not to go after the police because I would ruin my bad faith claim against State Farm. And I got witnesses that are coming on the stand to prove that as well. So do we really want to go here and play this dance and cost your taxpayers all this money to prove the scam? I have all the receipts. The amendment theories reflected in plaintiff's materials are broader than negligent legal advice. They include allegations tied to the use of non-public or privileged insurance information, pressure concerning property and settlement, and participation in a larger part of retaliation and deprivation following the underlying loss. Defendants offer no careful accrual analysis for those broader theories. They simply pick one communication and declare all claims dead. That is not enough to render the proposed amendment facility futile. So factually futile. So the reality is you can't just say what you want. You gotta back it up with law. The SHINAVER related allegations are not refuted on their merits. Defendants describe the proposed SHINAVER related claims as very loosely alleged legal malpractice. No, they're not. What do you mean? This guy filed a protection order on me because I told the public what his partner did to us. Threatening us with legal trial. I told the public that, and he was stalking me. When I caught his ass stalking and told the public that he was stalking me, he went to court and got a protection order on me, unlawfully. And then on record told the court that he wasn't afraid of me. Are you kidding me? Said to the court, hey, I'll tone it. If you just would agree to tone it down, I'll cancel all this. Or however he said it. What do you mean? Tone it down? So you're telling it on the record that the reason we are in this court, wasting the court's time and more taxpayer dollars, is not because you're afraid, but because you don't like what I said about you online. That's called First Amendment, guy. You don't get to control the narrative when you were the one doing the wrong things, violate misconduct. You don't get to control the narrative, you scam, especially on my platforms. It identifies public docketed filings showing a progression from an unsuccessful stalking petition, here we go, to later accusations that plaintiff committed fraud, perjury, and extortion, based substantially on the settlement communications and public advocacy materials. It also identifies factual weaknesses in the newly discovered evidence rationale because much of the cited material appears to have been public or available earlier. Those facts support plausible theories of retaliatory motive, misuse of legal process, stigma, and continuing harm. Defendants do not answer the allegations on their own terms. Defendant's State Farm argument ignores the actual evidence supporting the amendment. That's the way I'm gonna say it. Y'all know it. Defendants portray the State Farm portion of the amendment as merely another attempt to challenge claim denial. No, I never got my day in court with these bastards you scam. Go show me a camera of me in court with State Farm. Go find it. If you can show me that, then I'll take that scam. I never got a day in court because of the coordinated scam that I believe was coordinated between the attorneys and State Farm. Plaintiff's draft materials show why that description is materially incomplete. Those materials identify testimony and admissions supporting the inference that claim denial information was not ordinarily public, that a non-insured third party learned of the denial, and that non-public claim information may have circulated outside normal channels. The materials also describe delay, SIU escalation, derogatory treatment, and communications bearing on bad faith, confidentiality, reputational, and coordination theories. Whether every State Farm related claim will ultimately survive later motion practice is not the issue now. Understand the law, guys. That's what the argument right now is. Should the judge should the amended complaint be granted? Not whether or not what I'm claiming in this complaint is legitimate. You think it's legitimate now. Of course, some of those claims against State Farm are going to probably be dropped later. Why? Because of statute of limitations, of course. But if you think for 1 second every single claim against State Farm is going to be dropped, you're out of your mind, because there's too much that happened here that they don't know I've kept records of. I was threatened by State Farm's attorney with criminal charges just by asking what is going on with our claim. I got threatened and told that I can't even call the office. I have to wait for her to contact me. And she took as much of time as she wanted to, eating up that time, that statute of limitations clock as long as she wanted to. Lori Thompson. Oh, yes, I'm bringing you back to the stage. And you better hope to God that Judge Helmet doesn't approve this motion, because if he does, I can't wait to serve you. I promise you, because you broke all types of laws and you don't get to threaten me, and you're the attorney for State Farm, and I'm asking you about my claim that they've taken over 200 days to make a decision on. Get the hell out of here. You don't threaten me with criminal charges, huh? You don't think I got record of that? You don't think I kept that evidence? It's on the federal docket now, State Farm. You want to keep paying for a defense that's going to fall apart in front of a jury? Defendant's principal legal argument is that the Silver SHINAVER, the firm, and State Farm are private actors and therefore cannot be liable under 1983, 1985, 1986, and 1981. Study those parts of the law out. You guys got to understand what the law is. But plaintiff's amendment does not rely on private status alone. It relies on joint action, coordination, and conspiracy. Like I've been telling you guys from day one. And once we get to discovery and we start getting phone records and emails, I bet you we're going to find out the scam. Now, this is strictly my opinion, and I'm entitled to that. And I know that people are watching me, so I know what I say can be used against me. So I'm going to say it again. It's been reported to me. Let me start it by saying that, and let me throw the word alleged out there. But I'm going to say my opinion is, somehow we're going to find some records of Zach getting a paycheck from State Farm of some sort. I believe he got some dollars out of nowhere, because how all of a sudden 14 days before we're supposed to go to the dance in Fulton County, after waiting a whole year to see a judge, after we had to wait for the judge to be replaced, all of this stuff goes on. We finally got to get in front of the judge, and you tell me that I've got to drop the case because I'm going to lose bad faith. What do you mean? How am I losing bad faith and I didn't even come to court? You're a scam guy. And I believe that the discovery, once we get this guy on the complaint properly, I believe discovery is going to show it, because something ain't right here. He's the same guy that talked us into giving up our property to the lady that burglarized us the second time. So I don't trust what went down. So at this point, settlement is off the table. We need to get into you guys' emails. We need to get into some phone records. We need to start talking to some people and find out what truly went down during that time. Because, Zach, I believe you got paid off. I don't care. I don't give a damn. You want to show it in court that I said that? Yes. Because I clearly said it's my opinion. So, Plaintiff Exhibit N expressly addresses that point, explaining that private parties may be liable where they acted jointly with state actors or participated in a conspiracy to deprive constitutional rights. Pay attention. This is where private actors can be held accountable. Doesn't matter if you're a private actor. If you're working in collusion, your ass can be pulled into federal court too. And that's what's going to happen here. And that circumstantial evidence and coordinated conduct can suffice at the pleading stage. So we're at the pleading stage. You don't get to say which we can argue later. You're going to argue to try to keep this thing away from a jury as much. So you're going to throw everything you can at me. But right now, This is for you to give the judge your reasoning of why he should not amend this complaint, not the stuff you brought up, Swanton. You should know better. You're an idiot. Defendant's brief does not work through plaintiff's actual allegations under that framework. It merely announces that plaintiff has not pled enough. That is insufficient. A conclusionary denial of joint action is not the same as demonstrating that the proposed amendment could not survive Rule 12 scrutiny. That's the whole thing here, lady. Defendants improperly demand proof instead of plausibility. The opposition states that plaintiff not only fails to plead conspiracy, but certainly cannot prove one. That is the wrong standard. At the amendment stage, plaintiff need not prove conspiracy. I got to do that later. It's not time for me to prove it. I can say it, and that's enough for me to have a judge listen to me. So what do you mean? I don't got to prove that right now, but the evidence already proves it. And I believe once we get to discovery, I'm going to have all the writing on the wall once we start digging through you all's emails, because some scams went on. I bet you. Prove state action or prove ultimate liability. It's not time for me to do that. He need only show that the proposed amendment pleading is not, pay attention, it's not futile. We just talked about this. Factually futile. That means that's all I'm required to do here. And I proved that it's not. You came up with whatever instead of what you should have been bringing up. Plaintiff's supporting materials do exactly that. They provide timing, motive, overt acts, documentary support, public filings, testimony, and admissions from which joint action, retaliatory purpose, and continuing harm may plausibly be inferred. That's enough to permit filing and testing in the ordinary course. The defense brief confirms why amendment is necessary. Defendant's opposition repeatedly tries to sever the SWANTON conduct from the attorney and insurer conduct. Plaintiff's materials show why the opposite approach is warranted. The actors, narratives, and harms are intertwined. You hear me? It's an intertwined scam. Plaintiff alleges that after he reported a hate crime loss, he was treated with suspicion, subjected to unlawful investigative conduct, denied equal treatment, and then met with insurance, legal, and public record tactics that reinforced the same hostile narrative. Yes, a year ago, me and my partner, Mr. Amato, we went out to Swanton. We asked for public records. They ignored us and laughed it off and so did their attorney. Now, at that time, I didn't know that I can't request it through the court because it's not time for that. So, of course, I'm learning back then. I didn't know that legally. I tried to request it to the court, and the court denied it. Why? Because we're not at that stage, and you don't get to request that right now. But the reality is you still have a requirement to provide every public records that was requested. And you went way past the time frame. And you told me with a stupid-ass response, we're not going to provide you anything at this time. Okay, great, because now I already have it. I don't need anything from you guys. I would love to have how you mistreated African Americans for years, what you put on the paperwork, but you probably burnt it in the fire. That's what the scam looks like to me. So I don't need that. I've got the body cams of what you did to me and my sister, and that's enough. That is precisely the kind of fuller factual development Rule 15 is designed to accommodate. Conclusion. For these reasons, plaintiff respectfully requests that the court grant plaintiff's motion for leave to file First Amendment complaint. Defendants have not shown that amendment is factually futile. Once again, that was what they would have. That was what their job was. Not talk about their opinions about me. Their opposition relies on labels, not analysis, on overlap, not true preclusion, and on the private status of proposed defendants without meaningfully addressing joint action, coordinated conduct, retaliation, and the factual record supporting amendment. Signed by Minister M.L. Kimble. So now this is in front of Judge Helmick. And it's now up to Judge Helmick. He makes the decision if he's going to allow the amended complaint. If he somehow does not allow the amended complaint, the original complaint still stands. So I don't know why you dumbass idiots would even be arguing whether or not I should amend. Because if you looked at the amended complaint compared to the original complaint, I think we demanded over $10 million. The amended complaint is less than. So why are you trying to argue that? Because guess what? If he doesn't give us that, we're still going forth with the first complaint. And guess what's coming next? Questions for your mayor that he's going to have to legally respond to and answer. See, what they do to us when we're defendants is now their turn. And at the end of the day, we're going to get down to the bottom of what happened. And the scam will no longer be able to hide. Somebody knows something. And we're not going to stop until you're held accountable.